Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Channel 3 News. Today we have a special guest with us. Please welcome Ruby Cole Session, the mother of ex-criminal Timothy Cole.
Hello, Jim. How are you today?
Fine, how are you?
Well, I'm just alright.
Good. So, Ruby, years ago your son Timothy was tried and convicted with the rape of a young woman. Am I correct?
Falsely convicted, yes.
Care to elaborate?
Well, you see, Timothy, my son, was studying political science at Texas Tech University. He had just got off from his time in the service. At his school, there was more than one sexually aggressive situation, and the aggressor was never caught. One woman mistakenly identified Timothy as the perpetrator after an incident, and my boy was brought to court.
I see. Now please tell us. Tell all of us. Why was Timothy identified as the aggressor?
The victim. She was very distressed, I'm sure, while all this was happening, and tried to remember as much about her attacker as she could. She remembered her attacker as a black man, similar in size to Timothy, and when put in the lineup, claimed she was positive that it was him.
Yes, and lineups were also a factor in his exoneration. Am I correct?
Yes, they were. Memory is altered. It's a fact. There's no memory you have that was 100% accurate. And when given a lineup, identification mistakes are the #1 reason for false incriminations.
Well, that's just a shame.
Of course.
So I understand that the victim took him to court because of that mistake in identification. Can you tell me what happened in court?
Yes, of course. The normal court things happened. The lawyer spoke, the defendant spoke, etc., etc. But when the victim spoke, she of course was very emotional, as she should have been. A lot had happened to her that should never happen to anybody. But the jury was desperate to find the true Texas Tech rapist. And when they thought it could be Timothy, they jumped at the chance to imprison him.
Again, that's awful. So how long did your son serve in prison?
He was sentenced to 25 years, but only got to serve 23. He was asthmatic and died in prison before he could serve his sentence.
I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how hard that loss was for your family.
It was very hard, yes. Very.
Now, your son was posthumously exonerated. Would you talk about that for a minute?
Yes, that part is a bit confusing, but I can try to make it simple.
Go ahead.
Okay, so after Timothy had died in jail, a different man was charged with 2 accounts of sexual assault, receiving a life sentence plus 99 years in prison. Once he found out he was never getting out, he wrote a series of letters trying to confess to the crime that Timothy was incriminated for. This was all happening while Timothy was trying for a second trial, but the confession letters and Timothy's wishes were dismissed.
So how was he exonerated?
After Timothy's death, the true criminal wrote one more letter to a higher judge. The only reason Timothy was exonerated is because DNA testing from the semen at the crime scene matched Johnson's. This led to Timothy's freedom.
Devastating that it took so long.
Yes, sir, but his exoneration afterward, Texas passed an act in his honor that raised the required compensation amount to be paid to exonerees of their families. There was also a board created for the study of preventions of wrongful convictions throughout the state.
Well, there's some of a silver lining at the end after all.
Yes, well, thanks for having me today, Jim. I do hope I could shed some light on the situation.
Thank you for coming, Ruby. I'll be back tomorrow with more to inform. Jim Sessions reporting, Channel 3 News.